Malicious Compliance, episode number 1.
New neighbor didn't like my old fence, so I took it down. About 5 or 6 years ago, I built a fence in my backyard. I talked to my neighbors and we decided on a good place to build the fence. We knew an approximate property line based on some survey pins, but we're both too cheap to pay for a surveyor. We shook hands and I built the fence. It was a great deal for my neighbors. I paid for everything, built the fence, and all they had to do was give me a thumbs up when it was done. Then, a year later, they sold their house. That meant I got a new neighbor. More specifically, I got Anne. Anne was from the big city. Anne was a realtor. Anne had flipped 8 houses in 12 years. Anne loved this new house and planned on staying for a long time. And Anne had a dog. Razzie was a German Shepherd mix that spent most of the day outside while Anne went to work. Razzie was aggressive towards children, animals, insects, and any plants that waved in the breeze. Razzie also, as Anne once told me, loved to chew on furniture. That's why Razzie stayed outside so much. About 6 months after Anne moved in, I saw a surveyor walking around in my neighborhood, and he was paying special attention to my backyard. The next day, Anne showed up at my front door with a stack of papers and asked me if I was going to pay her for the 9 inches that my fence was encroaching onto her property. I explained the handshake deal with the last neighbors, but she was having no part of it. She wanted the fence moved or she wanted money. No discussions. She had spoken to her lawyer friend and was perfectly happy to take me to court over the fence. She told me, "I don't know how you guys do it out here in the sticks, but where I come from, we follow the rules." So I got rid of the fence. The next day, I unscrewed the horizontal rails from the brackets, stacked the fence panels up against my garage, and pulled up the fence posts with my work van. About a week later, Anne shows up at my front door again. She wants to know when I'm going to be building a new fence. Turns out, without my portion of the fence, she has not been able to let Razzie out unattended for fear that he will run away, attack something, or get hit by a car. She also told me she can't keep him in the house all day while she's at work anymore. Her furniture and carpet are all but ruined. I told her, "Well, Anne, I'm not going to be rebuilding the fence. I don't want any legal trouble, and the best way to stay out of trouble is to not build near your property." The look on her face was priceless. I thought she was going to cry. She probably did when she got back home. She tried to protest, saying that she really needed the fence back, and she would even help pay for the new one. She told me how much she loved the style and aesthetic of the old one. It was just the location that she had a problem with. I stood firm. There would be no new fence. She never got a fence. She made half-hearted attempts to put up some bamboo fencing, but Razzie tore through that stuff like wet newspaper. Eventually, I sold my place and moved away. I took the old fence panels with me and I still look at them every day when I let my dog out in the morning. TLDR, new neighbor with dog, didn't like where the old neighbor and I built a fence. She threatened legal trouble, so I completely removed the fence. Dog destroys her house. I keep the fence.
When we were looking for a house, we got accosted by an old lady who was the neighbor of a house we were looking at. "They put up this fence and it's too close to my house. If you buy it, I'll make you take it down." She wouldn't shut up about the fence and we literally couldn't have cared less. But by her entire nature, I was sure that if we did buy the place, it would be a nightmare neighbor that we'd be feuding with until she had a heart attack. So our realtor pulled the disclosures, and we're the kind of nosy people who know how to use legal searches, and the story we assembled from reading them was this. Old lady was annoyed about a fruit tree in the yard of the house now for sale some years prior. Didn't like that it dropped rotten fruit in her yard. There was a short chain link fence and the tree was right on the edge next to the fence. She hacked off all the limbs on her side of the fence. This killed the tree. The owners of the house sued the old lady to replace the tree. Old lady, as part of her defense of the lawsuit, said it was her tree anyway because the fence was hers and it was on her side of the property line, since the tree was so close to it that it had to be hers. Owners of the house for sale hired a surveyor to counter her claims. Now, previously their understanding was that they had a 0 lot on that side, that the house was literally on the property line. That's because that's what the old lady probably told them when they moved in. They'd never bothered to check. The surveyor informed them that it was actually a 0 lot but on her side. They had 3 feet of land that she had been using as a garden beside their house. So they won the lawsuit, old lady paid the state assessed value of the tree, and then boom, in their permits for the property they paid for a nice fence. That cost almost exactly what they got for the tree. It was placed the minimum distance allowed by law from her house, which was 18 inches. She was ready to fight that fight all over again to get 22 inches of yard back.
Never underestimate an old lady with a grudge.
So, did you buy the house or not?
No one leaves till 5 p.m. but no overtime? Bet. Several years ago, I worked for an aerospace manufacturing company, you already know this won't end well, as a setup operator. Meaning my job was to arrive before shift start, usually 3 or 4 hours early, make sure all the 5 axis mills were calibrated. The ATC, automatic tool changer magazines, were all loaded correctly and the tooling was in good condition, nothing dulled or broken. If there was damaged tooling, part of the process was removing the carrier, replacing the cutter, and resetting the cutter height with a gauge, making it so that the tip of every cutter is in the exact same position for that particular holder every time. After being there for several years, the company eventually gets acquired and new management comes in. I'm there from 3 or 4 in the morning until 1 or 2 p.m., sometimes earlier if a new job gets added to the floor. Schedule works fine for me, I get to beat traffic both ways, and the pay is a bit higher due to the differential. After a few weeks, it gets noticed that I constantly leave early and always run over on hours, so they implement a new policy. Work starts at 9 a.m. and runs till 5. You have to be on the floor ready to go when the clock hits 9 CU. I try to explain to my new boss exactly why I leave early, but he's more concerned about numbers and cash flow than what I actually do there. So fine, you want 9 to 5, you'll work 9 to 5. Instead of punching in at 4, I chill in my car till 8:45 and roll into the building, wait till exactly 9 and punch, then head to the floor. Roll up to the first Haas on the line and hit the E-stop, which shuts the machine down instantly. Tell the operator this hasn't been set up yet and they need to wait till it's ready. Head down the line and punch everyone I pass, telling them the same thing: not ready, go wait. I start at the end of the line with my platinum gauges and start calibrating the entire magazine, verifying everything in there is in spec and ready to be used. Get the magazine done and home the probe so the machine knows where it is in 3D space and move to the next. That was about 40 minutes since I took my time. Meanwhile, the rest of the line is dead in the water. Nobody can do any work until their deck passes calibration and is certified to use. I'm partway through the second unit when I have my new manager breathing down my neck. Why is nothing running? What's going on? Etc., etc., etc. I sit back on my haunches and calmly explain to him, this is my job, the one that until today I used to come in hours early to do as to not mess with the production schedule. I need to get this done, should be ready to start the line in another 5 or 6 hours, boss. I'm told to unlock and get the line moving. No can do, none of these machines are checked, and I'm not signing off on the certification until I'm done. Anything not certified is an instant QC reject. Choose, run the line and reject a mill in parts, or let me finish and lose a mill in production time, and I go back to my old schedule tomorrow. The plant got a day paid to do nothing. I got the new boss off my back, and he got reamed all to hell for losing a day's production.
Moral for any managers out there: question why the team does things the way they do, but don't just commit to alter everything.
When I was doing training as a brand spanking new female engineer, I was abrasive enough to management because I didn't want to do data capturing. I wanted to be on the production floor, learning how things worked. As a punishment, they put me under the artisans for a year, people with almost 30 years more knowledge than me. I quite enjoyed learning lockout procedures and motor repairs, and going home covered in grease, even if it meant they paid me an engineer's salary to wash windows or replace light bulbs some days. The artisans in turn were so delighted with me asking all the stupid questions like, why is this $500,000 item not being used? So they could answer, it was designed by a new engineer and never worked. We could have told them that. They made me promise not to change things when I get to management level, without asking the people on the production floor why things were done the way it was done.
No, wait, don't do that. Then we won't have any great stories to read.
I can't give students a 0 for using AI unless I have proof. No problem. I'm a high school English teacher. I have 2 major annoyances when it comes to kids doing work. First, a lot of kids don't read or listen to directions. Assignment instructions are written on their papers, and I read them out loud, but I still have students asking me, what are we doing? That's no big deal though, it's a pretty normal thing to deal with as a teacher. The real issue bugging me is students cheating on writing assignments using ChatGPT. I'm pretty good at spotting AI-generated essays, but the problem is that when I try to accuse students of using AI, they deny it. They act outraged that I would accuse them even though we both know they're playing dumb. I usually just give them a 0 and move on with my life, but there's always the fear fear that one of them might take the issue to administration. If they did, I'm not confident that admin would back me up. It's hard to prove something is AI generated, and these days the higher-ups are more likely to side with the student. So I hatched a plan. I gave an open-ended creative writing assignment. The directions said to write a story about anything you want, and then answer some questions about the story you wrote. The thing is, when you ask ChatGPT, tell me a story, it always spits out the exact same story about a girl named Alara who lives in the woods. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, there lived a young woman named Alara. She was known throughout the village for her curiosity and sense of adventure, always eager to explore the world beyond the familiar paths of her home. So in slightly smaller print under the instructions, I wrote, if your main character's name is Alara, 99 points. Lo and behold, I got 1 or 2 kids turning a story about a girl named Alara who lives in woods. When I turned back the papers with a grade of 1/100, because I find that it stings more than a 0, the kids predictably asked why. And all I had to do was point to the instructions that they didn't read. There was no need to mention AI. We both knew what they did. Edit. For people saying they tried ChatGPT and got a different story name, I don't know why it's inconsistent. All I know is that I get the same story every time, and so do my students. The paragraph I put in the post was copied from ChatGPT directly. I discovered all this when a student submitted that same story earlier in the year for a different creative writing assignment.
When I was in college, I had an ethics professor catch a student cheating. This was way back before AI, but people could still find papers online. The student denied he cheated, but the professor showed him where he found it online and pointed to the name of the author. It was the professor.
The real-life version of I'm the Half-Blood Prince.
This happened to a friend of mine, but it was the professor's best friend that my friend copied, and it was so highly specialized that the professor knew immediately. The professor pushed to expel my friend as she was so angry, but in the end, my friend only failed the class.
Thanks a lot for watching. Share your own stories in the comments and check out our other videos. Take care. See you soon.